In what may be one of the stupidest crime hoaxes, some guy apparently printed out a clip art picture of someone holding a gun pointed straight ahead and tried claiming that someone had planted it on his car or something related to like the Virginia gun rally. But apparently the photo was taken in his own garage, and I have no idea how someone would be able to track down this guy's license plate number to figure out which car was his. The whole thing is completely absurd, and my favorite part is that it seems the media lied about the whole thing for some reason, trying to grasp at some dumb story from a dumb person on Twitter. You know what this reminds me of? First, I don't want to call it a hate crime hoax because this guy, I don't know who he is, but it's a gun issues thing. Apparently this guy is a gun control advocate, and David Hogg, tweeted about it or something like that. I don't know. But look at this picture if you can see it. For those that are watching, this guy allegedly staged this. And actually, no, I'm sorry. I think by his own account, he claims that he placed it on his car. We'll get to that. But this reminds me of that scene from Fight Club when the boss walks in the office and he goes up to the narrator or Jack and says, like, the first rule about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. The second rule, what is this? And the narrator gets up and says, basically, don't bring me every little piece of trash you happen to come across. That's what I think when I see this. First of all, if I walked into my car and I saw that on it, you know what I would do? I'd crumple it up, toss it in a trash can, and that's it. I wouldn't tweet about it. I wouldn't make a big stink about it. If I was a journalist, I'm making a joke. This journalist from the Baltimore Sun actually decided it was newsworthy to write about some guy's tweet because somebody, he claims, there was no verification. He didn't call the local authorities. He just took their word for it, which is so absurd because the post-millennial actually did contact local police who said, we don't know anything about this. Let me get through this because it's really funny. But it seems like based on the post-millennials reporting, not only did this guy stage the whole thing, but the Baltimore Sun put out fake news without actually fact-checking. So here's the story. They write, did an anti-gun activist stage a death threat for Twitter? Notice it's a question, and it's a question because we don't know for sure. But I think it's fair to say, based on this guy's own assessment, he did. And I'll explain. Post-millennial writes, on Saturday, Johns Hopkins Hospital trauma surgeon Joseph Sakrin posted to his Twitter alleging that he had received a menacing death threat due to his gun control activism. The menacing threat read, "The end is near." Below a cartoon hand holding a gun was allegedly found on Dr. Sakrin's car windshield. He posted two photos on January 25th on Twitter. One shows the alleged threat below the wiper blade and one of Sakrin holding it in his home. Dr. Sakrin went on to create an 8-post thread detailing his life history experiencing a gun-related injury and notes his history of advocacy against gun violence. He also tagged the Twitter handles of gun control activist groups Mom Demand Action, Newtown Action Alliance, Sandy Hook Promise, and others. He did not mention whether he reported the alleged death threat to the police in Fairfax County, Virginia. Despite the thread going viral, gaining over 6,000 likes at the time of this article's writing, some Twitter users observed discrepancies in Dr. Sakrin's allegation. Visible in the reflection of the windshield appears to be the surrounding of a residential garage, which could indicate Dr. Sakrin's vehicle may have been parked indoors at the time of the alleged death threat was discovered. Now, I will stop here. When I first heard, I was told like, oh, but it was, indoors. And I said, maybe it was an indoor parking garage. Except in the reflection of the windshield appears to be a wooden trim around this door. So it looks residential. It doesn't look commercial. But I'm not going to, I don't know. Maybe it was commercial and they liked having a little wood trim on it. Maybe it was a hospital building or something. So it's possible. I just think it looks, residential. Let's read on. However, Dr. Sakrin was interviewed by the Baltimore Sun, where he asserts that he found it on his car on or before January 20th, and he made his way to work. He says he took the paper from his windshield and placed it inside of his car, not believing it to be anything more than a flyer, and did not inspect it until days later while cleaning out the vehicle. They go on to say the interview was seemingly meant to offer clarity, but instead seemingly confirms that Dr. Sakrin staged the threat on his windshield in order to take a photo for Twitter. Additionally, another user pointed out that the after photo of the note taken inside his home appears to have fewer creases and blemishes than the note photographed on his windshield. So it looks like, check it out. In the first photo, you can see there's a fold right down the middle of the picture. And No, I don't know. I don't know if that argument makes sense. That crease appears to be in both photos. So if that's what they're asserting, I don't know if that points out. Someone says, a tweet says, as someone who is detail oriented and focuses on small details, my conclusion is it's a hoax. Why? Because the photo on the right was taken before the photo on the left, which suggests Joseph Saccharin printed the paper himself, placed it on the window himself. Well, here's the thing. If he claims it was on his car while he was in Virginia or whatever, not indoors, and there's a photo of it on his car indoors, it stands to reason that he, by his own story, I guess, he put it in his car, went to a parking garage, and put it back on his car, I guess. I don't know. Let's read. Let's get the details correct. But the media absolutely got published fake news. And that is according, if you trust the post-millennial, then it seems that Baltimore Sun put out totally fake news about this. They say, additional questions were raised about the tracing of the image to the device it was printed on. According to Snopes, a majority of color printers are designed with the ability to produce a secret metadata called machine identification code embedded in all printed pages. The code enables for easier tracing of the source device a page was printed through. However, according to publicly available Fairfax police records, Dr. Saccharin does not appear to have filed a police report over the incident. They say the post-millennial reached out to Saccharin for comment, but he has not heard back in time for publication. It's an ongoing story. They do have updates. Now, we'll get to the updates, but first, the Baltimore Sun. For some reason, the Baltimore Sun thought this was a news story. It's not. It's a guy on Twitter posting a picture. That's it. But the Baltimore Sun writes, Hopkins surgeon, gun violence prevention advocate, takes to Twitter to report death threat left on his car. They write, a prominent trauma surgeon at Johns Hopkins Hospital who survived being shot as a teen and advocates nationally for gun violence prevention says he recently had a death threat placed on the windshield of his car. Dr. Joseph Saccharin posted images of the alleged threat. A sheet of paper. We get it. They mentioned that, David Hogg noticed it for whatever that matters. Saccharin, however, deleted his thread of tweets about the alleged incident on Monday morning. He said he did so at the advice of law enforcement, who also advised him to stop discussing the matter publicly. He declined to comment further. I'm going to stop you right there, Baltimore Sun. Did you bother verifying any of those claims? Because the post-millennial did, and it turns out the cop said, why would we tell someone to do that? That's not what we do. We'll get to that. Let's read more. They mention his history and how he became a trauma surgeon, yada, yada. We get it. They say this. In an interview with the Baltimore Sun, he said he believed the paper was placed on his car parked near his parents' home in Northern Virginia sometime on or before January 20th, which was the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday and the same day as the gun rights rally in Richmond. Okay, it was parked near his parents' home. That implies what? Not indoors, outdoors? First of all, if somebody knew who he was, how would they know what his car? It's really, I mean, look, we're talking about a big stretch. First of all, they went into the indoor parking garage where he was. They knew which car was his for some reason, maybe put his name on it. I have no idea. They know what his license plate number is. That seems odd. This dude's not particularly famous. So is the other argument that someone was going around putting the end is near on every car, in which case it wasn't targeting him? The story seems to make absolutely no sense. Is it possible? Sure, I guess it's possible. Let's read. They say the rally spurred Ralph Northam to declare a temporary state of emergency. We know all this stuff. It's not particularly relevant. They say that Capitol Police tasked with staffing officers for the rally said they were not aware of any threats against gun control activists. Saccharin declined to say what agency, if any, is investigating the incident. Well, perhaps the Baltimore Sun. You could have actually just, made a phone call. Saccharin said he recalls grabbing what he thought was a flyer off his windshield on the morning of January 21st as he made his way to work at the U.S. Capitol, where he was serving as a health policy fellow. Saccharin took a sabbatical from his position. Okay, full stop. He said he took no notice of what was on that paper that morning, distracted by thoughts about his new job. But days later, as he was cleaning out his car, he took a closer look and realized what it was with a jolt. I was like, oh my gosh, a lot of emotions went through me, to be honest with you, having been a survivor and also my family. Whoa, wait a minute. Did he just admit to staging it? In the first photo, it's on his car. It's indoors. You know what that means? If he told the Baltimore Sun he didn't know what it was and he pulled it off of his car and threw it in his back seat, that means that later on, he placed it back under his windshield and took a picture of it. I'll tell you what, man. Maybe it's possible somebody put that flyer in his car, sure. But he put it back to take a photo for Twitter. That's staging it, okay? Whatever. Well, we got some updates here from the Post-Millennial. They say this. Update. Saccharin, speaking with the Baltimore Sun, has claimed that police advised him to delete the viral tweets, which outlined the threats he allegedly received at his home. The Post-Millennial reached out to the Fairfax County Police, the local law enforcement jurisdiction surrounding the Fairfax station, where Saccharin's home is located. And Media Relations Officer Lieutenant Webb was able to confirm that Saccharin did not file a police report, nor did the Fairfax police advise him to delete the viral tweet. Quote, "That's just not something we do," Webb said. The Fairfax County PD is the jurisdiction which surrounds Fairfax Station, where Saccharin's home is located and where the threat was allegedly discovered. The story continues to develop, and more and information may change. Okay, I'll tell you this. Maybe somebody put on his car, but he definitely staged it by his own account. The police are saying what he's claiming is not true. They didn't advise him to do anything that makes no sense. Now, I will say he doesn't have to file a police report. And I got to be honest, most people probably wouldn't. That's probably the right thing to do. I'm not going to hold that one against him. If somebody really put a fly in my car, I'd crumple it up, throw it away. I wouldn't file a police report either. So I'll give him a pass on that. But he basically admitted to putting on his car to stage it for a tweet, then claimed, which the police deny, they advised him to delete it, probably because he was getting dragged because it was a ridiculous thing to do. So there's a little bit more of the Baltimore Sun. But they basically get in. Let's read some of his quotes. They say this: "I just cannot imagine putting them through anything else. I'm not sure who did it. I'm not sure how they got my information. But as someone who takes care of patients day in and day out in Baltimore and who has been working at the intersection of health and public safety, it's just so concerning." Saccharin said he couldn't help but wonder whether his national advocacy work has caused someone to target him. I'm going to let y'all in a big secret. Conservatives don't do this kind of thing. How often have you heard a story about conservatives going around spray painting things and like throwing bricks through windows and, I don't know, threatening people? Look, let's be real. It does happen. You know, everybody has their crazies. But man, I'll tell you this, most conservatives, I guess they're too individualist to try and engage in behavior like this. This is why I think tribalism plays a huge role in why we see a big difference between who's perpetrating these hoaxes. I think for the most part, you have more mature, principled people likely to be on the right than the left. Though it's possible there are people on the left who are mature. You know, I consider myself to be policy-wise a left libertarian. So I, as a mature adult, would not, bat an eye at this nonsense, nor would I engage in this stupid behavior. But I think you can see that whatever the left is, they're willing to, they believe by any means necessary, and that the ends justify the means. People, moderates and people on the right or libertarian type people, like, I don't mean big L libertarian like the American Libertarian Party. I mean people who believe in, in liberty, the opposite of authoritarian. They're less likely to engage in this stuff. But when it comes to conservatives and many Second Amendment rights advocates, and there are 2A rights people on the left for sure, these are the kind of people who aren't going to go out in a big protest. The 2A rally, that's a sight to behold because it's kind of a rare thing. You typically don't see big conservative protests. I remember going to Trump Tower, and there were a bunch of protesters, and a Trump supporter was there, and he was like asking questions about what was going on. And I asked him, "Why don't you guys come out and protest?" And he was like, No. That's not really our thing. So when you see stuff like this, I think it's the overt tribalism and lack of principle which would drive someone to stage this kind of hoax. So let's read a little bit. Let's see what their conclusion is over the Baltimore Sun. They say, after finding the alleged threat in his car, Saccharin said he took a couple of pictures, placing it back on his windshield for one. So he admits it, and then threw it in the trash, ready to ignore it. On Saturday night, he changed his mind. In a thread of tweets, he talked about partners, so he admits to staging the shot. This guy admitted to staging the photo hoax. We have the opportunity and the responsibility to make communities safer for Americans, blah, blah, blah. For the person who thought they could silence me by threatening my life, you clearly know nothing about me. Yeah, dude. Listen, he didn't admit that he made it, but he definitely admitted that he placed it there for his photo. So I think it's fair to say we have no evidence of where the thing actually came from. And for all we know, he found it in the trash. And then he put it on his car and took a picture. I think it's fair to say, though, in many of these circumstances, I would always lean towards these people be faking it. They do. Come on, man. Everybody knows Jussie Smollett staged this, or everyone believes that to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So when you see stories like this, the first thing everybody noticed was, how come the photo is in a garage? He claims it was on his car outside by his parents. Well, he didn't say outside, but he said near his parents' home. That would imply it was outside, right? I think the statements he's making is just an attempt to, plausible deniability. Oh, no, it's because I put it back to take a picture. Great, you admitted it. I'm done. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. It is a different channel from this one, and I will see you all there.